All right, so today we're diving into this really fascinating document from the Aquarius Academy. And let me tell you, it presents this super detailed, kind of radical view on extraterrestrial life. I mean, this worldview, it's going to challenge pretty much everything you think you know. So get ready, because this is going to be a wild ride.
So the source document, it doesn't beat around the bush at all. It just kicks things off with this super direct statement. Right away, it shifts the whole conversation. We're not talking about if aliens are real anymore. Nope. The question becomes, what kind of aliens are out there? And the core idea here is that they're mostly good guys, and any talk you hear about an alien invasion, well, that's just a hoax, a tactic designed to scare everyone.
So you got to ask, right? Where does this intense belief even come from? Well, for the author, it all goes back to this really powerful personal experience. Picture this. They're just 9 years old, and they see this silent silver UFO just hovering over a highway. But it wasn't just that it was there, it was what it did. It moved in an instant, just zipping from one spot to another in a way that's, well, impossible. And that moment, that was the spark for this entire way of thinking.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover the idea that aliens are already here, then meet the benevolent guides. After that, we'll get into this war of consciousness, look at some other beings in the universe, explore what it means to be a starseed, and wrap it all up with the final message, which is love. All right, let's jump right into section 1. Aliens are already here. This is really the core idea that everything else is built on. So the document basically lays down a challenge. It's kind of saying it's time for humanity to grow up. We need to stop thinking about ETs as just a possibility and start accepting it as what the source calls an evidenced truth. And according to this text, this isn't just about being right. It's a crucial, absolutely necessary step for our whole planet's consciousness to level up. And that brings us to a really central idea, a term you have to understand for any of this to make sense: the starseed. So what is it? The document says it's a being, a soul, that's lived life in other places in the universe, on other planets, even in non-physical dimensions. But here's the real kicker, the part that makes it personal. The text looks right at you, the reader, and says, You are a starseed. Suddenly, this huge cosmic idea becomes all about you. Okay, so if we're starseeds, then who's on our side out there? That leads us right into section 2, the benevolent guides. Yeah, this is where we get to meet the quote-unquote good guys of this whole cosmic drama. The beings that the source says are looking out for us, protecting humanity. The source lays out a few of these key friendly races. You've got the Pleiadians, who are described as looking kind of like better-looking versions of us, and they're here to help us ascend. Then there are the Arcturians, who are all about vibrational energy and teaching that love is the secret sauce. And you also have the Blue Avians, these ancient, 8-foot-tall, bird-like beings who are seen as the protectors of all life and spiritual growth. And this quote about the Arcturians, it really gets to the heart of what all these benevolent guides are about. The idea is that love, that's the main ingredient for getting to the 5th dimension, this higher state of being. So in this worldview, love isn't just a feeling, It's a real practical tool you can use to evolve. But it's not all peace and love in the cosmos. Section 3 is where things get intense. It introduces the main conflict, a war of consciousness. And we're not talking about a war with lasers and spaceships here. This is a war fought with ideas, with energy, and most of all, with fear. Now, the source gives this whole conflict a really deep backstory. It all started in the ancient past with these feline-like beings called the Lyrans. They ended up fighting this great galactic war against another race, the Reptilians. Now, the Lyrans won, which was huge for ensuring humanity could even exist, but it cost them big time. They had to flee their home and ended up settling in places like the Pleiades and Orion. And that ancient war, it basically set up the two big opposing forces that, according to the document, are still playing out today. On one side, you have the Lyran way of thinking. It's all about love, oneness, high vibrations, and spiritual growth. But on the other side, you have the reptilian paradigm. And that's all about fear, shame, greed, guilt, using those feelings as tools to control people. That right there,
That's the central struggle. Okay, but it's not just about these two main groups. The universe, according to this, is packed with other players. So in Section 4, the others in the universe, we get to meet more of the cast of characters caught up in this whole cosmic drama. So let's do a quick rundown of this wider cosmic cast. You've got the Greys, who you've probably heard of. Here, they're described as a slave race that was genetically engineered. Then there are these unsettling, 8-foot-tall, insect-like beings called the Mantis. You have the Syrians, who are interesting because they have both good and bad factions. And they supposedly helped guide places like Atlantis and ancient Egypt. And of course, the Anunnaki, who are said to have landed on Earth thousands of years ago looking for gold. And this source material is just full of these incredibly specific little details. For example, get this. It claims there's a race called the Tall Whites, and that these beings can live for 800 of our Earth years. It's little tidbits like that that really build up this complex cosmic picture. So, okay, we've met all these cosmic players, we've heard about their ancient wars, but what does any of it have to do with us here on Earth right now? Well, that's where Section 5 comes in, your role as a starseed. This is where this huge, galaxy-spanning conflict gets really, really personal. See, the source claims this whole war of consciousness. It's not happening in some far-off galaxy. It's happening right here, right now. The idea is that a lot of people, even up to our world leaders, are unknowingly ruled by this reptilian thinking. You know, that mindset of fear, greed, and control. And it's all supposedly amplified by the media, which plays right into that whole agenda.
So, how are you supposed to fight back against that? Well, the source actually lays out a personal 3-step game plan. First, you have to recognize it. Understand that this psychic influence is like a cell phone call you don't have to answer. You can just hang up. Second, you have to act. Make your choices based on love, not on fear. Love yourself, love your own power. And third, you transform the situation. When you bring love and truth to people who are stuck in that fear-based thinking, one of two things will happen. They'll either change or they'll just disappear from your life.
And this quote really says it all. This is the ultimate defense. The claim is simple. Reptilians feed on fear. So when you have no fear of them, they have zero power over you or this planet. It's like their whole system of control just gets switched off, all because one person chooses not to be afraid.
Which brings us to the final part, the end game. Section 6 is called the final message, love. And this is presented as the ultimate answer, the one path forward for all of humanity. You know, it's easy to look at the world today and feel, well, a little hopeless, right? But the source turns that completely on its head. It frames everything with this incredible optimism. It argues that all the fear we're seeing on Earth right now, that's not the end. It's actually a catalyst. It's the pressure cooker we need to finally wake up and come together in love.
So the document leaves the starseeds, remember that's you, with some final instructions. First, focus on the lessons you're learning here, not where you might have come from. Second, don't be a spacist. Judge beings by their heart and their intention, not by what they look like or what race they are. Third, remember this one. Your vibe attracts your tribe. And finally, know that the whole galaxy is watching, and it's sending guidance and love to anyone who's open to asking for it.
When you boil it all down, this entire cosmic story is really framed as a journey of consciousness. It's all about inner evolution. And that leaves us with a pretty provocative question to chew on. What if the real key to understanding the entire universe isn't about looking out there with the telescope, but about looking in here?